is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Hey, all over the world, welcome in on television at CircleCountry.com. You can link to your favorite streaming platform from there or just watch right there where you are now. There's Charlie Mattos, Kelly Sutton with the morning off. She Talk Shop Live hosting today a little later on with Vince Gill and Amy Grant, and they're going to talk Christmas, and they have green vinyl. She was telling us before she left.
Yeah, she's going to snag me one like I requested. She seemed a little offended that I requested a free copy. She goes, the purpose of this show is for you to buy the record, not for me to get you free records. But
yeah, Bill Anderson, when I did his, you asked about a complimentary copy, and I think he pointed out that you could click buy now.
I could also buy one now, yes.
Yeah. So Annie Nye, our studio director. Jeff Roberts is in master control. Rock solid Roberts from the Grand Ole Opry Plaza. It's the A-Cuff House studio, our new studio home, and the Grand Ole Opry House is just across the way there. Katie Pruitt is in the house. She's in the green room right now. She's going to visit with us, and you were with her. We'll share some moments when she debuted at the Grand Ole Opry and you introduced her.
Yeah, she's played twice, and I've gotten her both times at the Opry, so I love when that happens.
And there's this extraordinary story. It's so touching and deeply affected our guest Matthew West when he was last with us, and he left here and had a near-death experience.
Yeah.
It's an automobile-related thing that he'll tell us about. But like all great songwriters, it has become a song called God's Hand, and we'll get to that with Matthew. That's in the 9 o'clock hour this morning on Coffee, Country, and Cody.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
The incredible Elton John had this great quote about our next artist, a wonderful writer with the voice of an angel. And that is coming from one of the iconic voices of all time, right? She's got a lot of love from folks like Rolling Stone and NPR. Her brand new album, Mantras, is out now on Rounder Records. She is making her Grand Ole Opry debut. Will you welcome Katie Pruitt?
How's it going, Opry? I think sharing details about who you are in songs is like at first terrifying, and then that moment you hear someone go, me too, it's like, oh, that's why I did that, that's why I put that detail in there, or that's why I'm being this honest, is because people need transparency in lyrics. For that outro, for the something about what happened, are you gonna jump up with me? Okay, cool.
Behind the scenes at your Grand Ole Opry debut. Welcome to Coffee, Country, and Cody, our new A-Cuff House studio home, Katie Pruitt.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. How did it feel to see yourself back there?
Great, honestly.
I must say that having your own parking space with your name on it, and getting out of your vehicle and the sunglasses, that's working for me.
It felt pretty cool, to be honest. And I'd be lying if I that sign is in my house for sure. Like, it just says Katie Pruitt. It's like you walk into my house and you know who lives there. And you know I played the Opry. So it's
the cool part about these features is, though, that night, it's a full day, because you get there pretty early. You got sound check, you got a film crew following you around, but yet it's still kind of a blur. It's over before it begins when you're on stage. So it's kind of nice to look back and say, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah, it was really nice to watch that documentary back and kind of reflect. And you're right, the day felt like such a whirlwind. I felt like I was like, I have to be on. But yeah, what a beautiful, surreal moment, and kind of a great way to celebrate my 10-year anniversary of living in this town. Mm-hmm. People say it's a 10-year town. And yeah, I remember coming to the Opry with my dad and hearing him say like, hey, maybe you'll play here one day. And then 10 years later, here I am. So it's very cool.
Unless you're Haley Witters and it was, 13 years in a 10-year town.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And,
well, who's counting?
It used to be a 7-year town.
Right.
Then it went to 10.
It's just going up and up, I guess. Just like the real estate, I suppose.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But the cool part is you've been back. You've had a second trip to the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, I have.
Was the second time a little, I don't know, calmer is the right word.
It was calmer, yeah. I had my friend Laura playing fiddle with me, and yeah, it was nice. And it was cool to, play with the Opry band again. And
who'd you hang out with backstage? Opry stars or
who'd I hang out
guests,
with?
Fellow guests?
I remember, I think Del McCurry played that night as well.
Did you have hair envy at that point in time when you saw Del McCurry step up to the microphone?
I mean, I just love Del. Del is like, I can't understand how that man does what he does at his age. I'm like, give me whatever I want your diet. I want your like exercise routine. Like, I want to be you when I grow up.
Yeah.
You know,
when he gets ready to hit the high note and closes those eyes and squints, it is on.
It's incredible. But I'm so happy that I've gotten to play the Opry twice. I honestly was just hanging with friends backstage.
Okay. And your intro was classic, Charlie, and that reference to Elton John and the voice of an angel. Other people have heard your voice with whom you've worked. Brandi Carlile, one of your heroes, Indigo Girls, Dave Matthews,
right.
have all invited you out because of that voice that Charlie described in the intro.
And that is the highest compliment ever. Even hearing you say that sentence back to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a true fact. It's hard to believe
that really
because
happened.
Those really are all my heroes, and I've gotten to work with them and open for them and meet them, and it's just, I feel so lucky.
What was your first introduction to Brandi Carlile?
She reposted a cover. I covered her song Turpentine, and this was during the pandemic. And I was just like on a camping trip with my girlfriend. I had lost all service. I got back, got my service back, and Brandi just said this whole nice thing on Instagram about me and reposted the song. And then she invited me to open for her about, 6 months later when shows were actually happening again. So it was amazing.
Well, you got a new record out. Rounder has a new album on you called Mantras.
Yeah.
It is available wherever people get their music. And when you leave here over the next few days, you'll be in Austin for the Austin City Limits Music Festival, and you're playing both Fridays, the 4th and the 11th. Then you're off to Santa Fe, Tucson, Phoenix. Great place to be headed this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm excited to head out west and those places are pretty.
Well,
so.
good routing too, because I always worry about the people who do Tempe to Bangor, Maine. It's like, this is not a good planning.
And we are not on a bus yet. I'll tell you what, I appreciate the 4-hour drives versus 12.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Bill talked about so many people that you've got to work with who you looked up to. It can be a scary thing to meet your hero, because the worst is when you're let down. And it sounds like every experience you've had has just been fantastic.
None of those people have let me down. Dave came out and met the whole band and took a picture with us and introduced us before our set, which is kind of unheard of for the headliner to introduce the support act. Yeah. And I heard that that's like a thing that he does for everyone, which I just think is so cool, because you're right, it's a little intimidating to be the support for someone like Dave Matthews, for someone like Brandi Carlile, who I got to go open for at Redbox the other month. And she was like, hey, can we do your song Blood Related in my set? And I'm like, in your set? Sure. I can't believe you want to do that. So
we're going to do it in our second set this morning.
Yes, right. Yeah. So we'll circle back to that.
Yeah. As we get ready to do All My Friends, I got to find out where the Dale Earnhardt racing jacket came from.
Yeah. I was just thrifting in Chicago. I was opening up for Lake Street Dive these past couple weeks, a band that I just adore. And I had some time to kill, and I tried this jacket on, and it says King of Beers on the back. I was like, yeah, that's mine. I'll take it.
Got the Dale Earnhardt autograph on the front there.
Yeah, exactly. It's now my entire personality, so...
From WSM Radio, this is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
From the historic Acuff House Studio on the Grand Ole Opry Plaza, Katie Pruitt sitting on wood that's the same wood the circle at the Grand Ole Opry House is from, originally from the Ryman Auditorium this morning.
What's up? How you doing?
We're finding the rectangle doesn't have quite the same catchphrase as the circle, but
every time I stand
circle,
in that,
the circle is a little bit more, rolls off the tongue easier. I'm sitting in the rectangle at the
Let's
Grand
go back
Ole
to the storyline for all my friends who were the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Cupid, and Santa Claus in the video that we saw for the song that people heard all over the world on WSM and got to see
Yeah.
on Circle TV. Speaking of Circle, Charlie,
Yes?
you were saying that my Opry debut is up at 9?
Up right now.
Oh, okay.
9 Eastern, 8 Central. So it is
Okay.
available to watch if you want to watch the full episode. I'd have to say though, I hate to not give Santa Claus top billing, but I think the Easter Bunny may have been the star of that one. So
the Easter Bunny stole the show for sure. That's my friend Candy Carpenter.
I was going to say, are we going to reveal the identity?
The acting impeccable. I mean, how do you act with no facial expressions? That's the kicker right there.
But that was inspired by a poem?
Yeah,
Did I
a
read?
Christian Wyman poem, and it's actually called "All My Friends Are Finding New Beliefs," and it's a really beautiful poem. And I just read that, and I was like, "This has to be a song." Like I kind of made it more of an indie rock song.
Yeah.
The poem's a little more introspective, but it's just about watching your friends change over the years and shift and change their minds, change their beliefs, and still having love and respect for them while they kind of find themselves. And so the music video is, these fairy tale characters that kind of have lost faith in themselves. And then by the end of it, they're like celebrating and they're, they learn how to love themselves again. So that's really all you want for your friends,
did you feel guilty charging Santa Claus $150 an hour though for therapy? That seems a little pricey, right? As the therapist in that episode.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
Okay, all right.
He's got the elves helping him run that operation.
Okay.
I think he's making it okay.
So, Catholic school girl growing up in Atlanta, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, what do your Catholic school friends say that you stayed in touch with through the years? Because you came here to go to Belmont, right?
Yeah. I mean,
What do they think about Katie Pruitt these days?
I've seen a few of them at, I played Atlanta not too long ago, I want to say back in April, and some of them came out and some of their parents came out to the show. So it's nice to have sort of stayed in touch with people from my past life, which feels, I went to Catholic school a long time ago at this point. So it's cool to, stay in touch with people,
You played Eddie's Attic in Atlanta?
I played, oh gosh.
Or have
where
you?
did I play?
Because
I have played Eddie's Attic.
I love that venue. Yeah,
I have played Eddie's Attic. I'm blanking on where I played.
What was your
right now.
first public performance that you recall?
Oh, wow. I did like my high school talent show. I don't know. I did like musical theater and stuff growing up. So if you count that, then yeah, I was like on the stage since I was, a kid. So.
When you got to Belmont, you joined a band shortly thereafter.
Yeah,
but
I
you
did.
had some very successful songwriting recognized early on by winning awards. I know one from
BMI.
and then the Hall of Fame, the Buddy Holly?
Holly Prize, yeah, which was, insane reassurance for a 20-year-old kid who's like trying to get into this professionally. It was really the kind of the push I needed to be like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to keep writing songs. I'm going to keep playing writers' rounds. I'm going to keep, meeting people in this town and try to get a publishing deal and try to do it, for real. So I've been really lucky. I also work my butt off, but I've also been really lucky. And I think when those two things click, it feels nice,
So who was the first celebrity you ran into after you moved to town?
Oh, man.
Did you recall?
I remember seeing Jack White at a restaurant and being so nervous. And I just went up to him and I was like, I love your work, man. And he was like, thanks. And that was it. I was like, I'm just going to keep this simple. And I've learned that that's the trick, just to keep it simple.
Anybody else encourage your songwriting, successful songwriters that we would know?
Yeah. We've mentioned Brandy. We've mentioned Amy Ray and the Indigo Girls. Rustin Kelly is a big one for me, and he took me out on my first opener tour. I had never been on a tour like that before, and he was like, "Do you want to open my tour?" And I was like, "Absolutely!" And I was such a big fan of him, and now we're just buds. So it's very cool. Many people that kind of aren't coming to mind right now for some reason, probably because it's way too early for me. But
well, we're going to close. You mentioned Brandy Carlisle wanted to do the song.
Yeah.
The two of you at a show you did together. The new album is Mantras. It's on Rounder Records, and the next gig that you'll see from her will be on Friday the 4th, and then again on Friday the 11th of the upcoming weekend as they kick off 10 days, 11 days, something like that, of the Austin City Limits Music Festival. But give us a setup on Blood Related, and we'll close with that.
Yeah, I wrote the song about my parents and, how it's kind of complicated sometimes to be related to people that you don't always agree with. It's frustrating.
Don't get to pick your parents.
But I love my parents. I don't always agree with my parents. And those things don't have to go hand in hand, Like, you can love people you don't agree with. That's kind of what the song stemmed from. And Brandy she heard it the first time I played it at her Mother's Day festival. And my mom sang with me at the festival. She was there, and she was so excited to meet Brandy, My mom was really cute. And we played the song, and I think it just became one of Brandy's favorites, and she asked me to play it in her set at Redbox the other month. So it's just, it's really awesome.
Katie, thanks for coming to see us this morning.
Oh my gosh, it's been so fun.
Katie Pruitt is here. As a friend of mine once said about his mother-in-law, he goes, I love my mother-in-law. I just don't like her very much. Well, Chris Jansen's making news this morning. It's hurricane relief. He was at that Orange Theory exclusive show at the Opry House that you hosted last night, Charlie. He joined his family and friends to start the work yesterday. It was on Monday, to gather and deliver supplies to people in need. Some of the items were donated by Bass Pro. Of course, he's a spokesperson for them. While others were purchased by Jansen himself, and he posted a clip on social media. Let's take a look and listen.
Hey guys, so we're here loading up a bunch of stock, a bunch of water, and a bunch of non-perishables for all the people in East Tennessee and maybe even some in Western North Carolina. My friends from Bass Pro Shops joined me on this big venture, and my family. We loaded up the plane, we loaded up the truck. Keep these guys in your prayers, these girls in your prayers. All these families, they're really suffering. A lot of devastation over there. We're going to do what we can, and I encourage you guys to do the same.
Yeah, this is going to take months. You often hear in the wake of something like this to recover. Now they're talking years for some of these communities. Chris, by the way, back at the Opry. He'll be back on Tuesday, October 15th. All right, celebrity endorsement for Post Malone.
All right.
What do you think? What product line?
Ford trucks.
That's a good one. F1 Trillion.
Yes.
Name of the album. But no. It's, and Merle Haggard once called it, Inoki from Muskogee, manly footwear. Wonder what Merle would think about Uggs.
It's okay. You got it. Come on. Jasper, come on. Come on. I don't want to hang out with you anyways.
Jasper is his horses. You listen, if you were watching, it was obvious. But it's the Weather Hybrid Collection from the folks at UGG. It's UGG, not Uggs, plural. The company is UGG.
Correct.
But everybody calls it Uggs, and so I keep
because you have
the
two
S
of
on the
them.
end.
You need two pairs. You need two shoes, so that's why.
He said that he's been wearing them since high school. He's been a fan. Said I've even got a custom camo pair that they made me last year. So he is now not a celebrity endorser. He is the brand ambassador, is what they call that job these days. Post Malone and UGG working together. After we got off the air yesterday, this story broke, and you had not heard when I got in this morning that John Amos, our friend and frequent guest, had passed away at age 84 yesterday.
It just seems like he's been a part of my whole life, watching him on different shows on television.
Yeah, and as you watch us on Circle, take a look at that face, and you're there. Whether it's Mary Tyler Moore as Gordy the Weatherman, or West Wing Charlie, one of your favorites. What was his name?
Percy Fitzwallace. I can't remember if he was a general or a colonel. I think he was a General Percy Fitzwallace.
There's Maude, Hunter, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, In the House, The District, All About the Andersons, Men in Trees, 2.5 Men, The Ranch, and most famously, Good Times.
Oh, Good Times, yeah.
He was James Evans Sr., that was his character name. He was married to Florida, you remember, and Esther Roll played that character. Born in Newark, New Jersey in 1939. First in professional football, Denver Broncos, and once referenced Charlie on the show when you pointed that out. You said, you played for the Denver Broncos, and he's like, man, that is so deep catalog. Charlie Mattos, you have a mind for minutia.
It's one of my great compliments on
And
Coffee Country
then-
and Cody
that's
through
right.
the years.
Then the product line started.
Mine for Minutia. That's right.
The
Yes.
T-shirt and the whole bit. He was Kunta Kinte, the adult, older Kunta Kinte in miniseries Roots back in '77. So also a New Jersey Hall of Famer, and we will miss.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
And our friend Matthew West is back in the studio, but the first time in our new Acuff House studio home.
I love it.
Sitting on wood from the Ryman stage that the Circle is the same wood.
It's awesome.
That you stand in when you play the Opry.
This is so cool. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, the last time I was here, you guys were still at the hotel.
Yeah, and there's a backstory to that coming up later in our visit this morning.
I look
that
forward
when you left the studio that morning.
Oh, yeah.
It inspired a song.
I got some things to tell you guys for sure. It's so great to be with you today.
We'll start with the name of the album, Don't Stop Praying.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which comes out this Friday.
Yeah, brand new album, 12 songs, and I'm so excited to share it with the world.
We will be 99 years old, WSM Radio, on Saturday after your album release. That's how we're celebrating your album release.
I'm glad you specified. You didn't say you're going to be 99.
No.
You said we, collectively. Yeah.
I'm in my early 90s.
I love that.
And we were just chatting, telling your debut at the Grand Ole Opry. You followed Little Jimmy Dickens.
Little Jimmy Dickens. I thought, what is my life? And he's telling jokes. We were sharing off the air, but what a great entertainer he was.
Yeah.
I've always tried to weave humor into my concerts and things like that. But man, he was telling me, it gets me laughing. I retell the jokes he tells all the time. My wife says, don't tell that joke. You know?
Well, he'd had the Viagra joke.
Was that like an old standard?
Yeah.
Can we retell it?
Sure you can.
Well, you or me?
Did you?
I'm the Christian singer. I can't. No, but he'd say stuff like, he's like, my wife asked me, honey, would you ever cheat on me while the band's playing underneath? And he goes, and I said, well, who else am I going to cheat on? And then the little rim shot. People can Google the Viagra joke. How about that?
The punchline is the stiff neck,
Yeah,
which he was known for anyway. I guess he must have had surgery.
Yeah,
because
he would turn his.
Yeah,
he said, I took one of those little blue pills. It got stuck in my throat. I've had a stiff neck for hours. Oh, it's so funny.
I asked him. We were talking about him being the last living Opry person that remembered the Hank Williams debut in the 6 standing ovations, and somewhere
was
in
there, huh?
that conversation, I said, "So what year did you come to the Opry?" And with that stiff neck, he turns it. I don't remember exactly. But I did come with the furniture.
See, just quick, man.
Well, we were talking how those true entertainers from that time period, they worked comedy into their concerts.
Oh, yeah.
As much as they did music.
And I love that. Like, I mean, I love when I play the Opry and I share the stage with Riders in the Sky. Mm-hmm. They do that too. You know, I mean, just they have this great shtick, this little comedy woven into the music. I love that stuff.
Well, and they work on every level because adults have loved them for generations, but little kids gravitate them too. So they're constantly winning new fans.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I get my picture taken with them backstage.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, I love their suits.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
So as a preacher's kid from Illinois growing up, Chicago area?
Yeah, Chicago suburbs.
Who were some of the first people you went to see, concerts you remember?
Well, it's crazy. I went to Six Flags to see Little Texas play.
Did you know?
Yeah. I grew up. It's crazy. So I grew up on church music, Christian music, but I grew up loving country music as well and oldies radio. There was Dick Biondi. Yeah, and like I would listen to like doo-wop and stuff like that growing up, which was weird because it was like my generation was, listen to a lot of pop music, but I just gravitated towards that and then country music, and I was a massive, still am, Garth Brooks fan. And I've seen Garth many times in concert. I saw him when he played Nissan.
He changed the landscape forever.
Oh, forever. And incredible entertainer, but just great songs. You know what I mean? So I've been a student of country music, which is kind of weird growing up in the Chicago suburbs. You know what I mean? But Chicago likes some country music too,
Well, you mentioned Little Texas. Tim Rushlow and Larry Stewart and Richie McDonald are now the front men of country. They've got this trio.
Yeah.
And they're actually doing 9 shows, including Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Terry Clark was here yesterday. She's doing, I think, 14.
At the Opry?
They're doing 9
at the
Opryland Hotel.
At the Opry, I heard about that Christmas series. Well, and then I'm trying to think. I got called in to write years ago. The band Diamond Rio was doing like a gospel album. and they said, well, who writes Christian songs? And they called me, and I'm in there writing with those guys. We're writing these songs together, and I'm hearing their harmonies. I'm like, this is incredible. So that's one of the things I love about being in Nashville is, it's just this melting pot of different genres and styles of music. And for a songwriter like me, man, this is my sweet spot because I love it all.
I love the line, who writes Christian music?
They're like, who does that?
I remember I was talking to Drew Holcomb one time, and Ellie had come down and said, hey, I wrote another song, and I think it's really good, but it's another one about Jesus. I don't think we can put it on your record. He goes, listen, you just keep writing them. Just do your own record. It's beautiful. This is wonderful.
And she did.
It's okay.
That's exactly right, man. Well, faith and country music have been woven together for so long. I've often said, man, I've gotten in the room with like Hall of Fame writers like Tom Douglas, wrote House That Built Me, and I'm like, or Craig Wiseman, Live Like You Were Dying, Tim Nichols. Man, I've gotten to sit at the feet of those guys, and
they're all in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame for a reason, right?
Unbelievable. And there's songs that are like, I'm like, these songs are like worship songs. Like they're just as much about Jesus as any other song you're going to sing. And that sometimes you hear a song on country radio that makes me stop and say a prayer, man. I love it.
Well, I think 2 of the last 3 times you have joined us, it has been for a new book, not a new album, right? Because you've been prolific as an author as well as a songwriter and a singer.
I've got a problem. I can't stop doing stuff. My wife's like, you gotta like go for a walk on the beach or something. I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. So I'm writing books these days. My mom told me years ago, she's like, I've been praying for you. And this is one of the things that taught me about the power of prayers. She said, I feel like God's put it on my heart that he's going to use your gift for words, not just to write songs, but someday you're going to be writing books to encourage people. Of course, I laughed at that because I said, well, he's got to be a God of miracles if that's going to happen, because I reminded her of my grade point average. But I've released 7 books and 13 albums, and I get the chance to write a lot of songs behind the scenes with other artists in Christian and country music. So I'm here today just feeling incredibly blessed and grateful that God's allowed me to make music, and really everything I do is in the hopes of telling people the greatest story ever told. I can't say it any better than the message of the gospel, of God's love, of a God that hears us when we pray. And that's really what inspired this latest album, Don't Stop Praying.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
Matthew West is here. He's got new music that comes out on Friday. And it's, what did I say? I just had it up here a moment ago. You're going to be in Lamarck, Texas. The KSBJ folks, they have an exclusive with you for the release. WSM's 99th birthday, October the 5th, is Saturday. So Matthew West, the album release event is taking place, and then you're off to the Mississippi State Fair in Jackson.
Yeah.
And then later in the month, Frisco, Texas, and Pensacola, Florida.
Don't Stop October. Praying tour will be taken off this fall. We're looking forward to it.
So how long... let me back up. I was going to ask you about the songs on this album. I read that the first songs you wrote in your preacher daddy's sanctuary. Is that true?
Yeah, that's how I first started writing songs. Growing up as a preacher's kid, I don't even know what made me start doing this, but I would ask my dad for his sermon notes, and I would tell him, I say, hey, I'm going to write a song for you. By Sunday morning service, I'll have a song written inspired by the message of your service, because sometimes sometimes you hear that right song after the message that just is like the exclamation mark. And now sometimes I'd be up early Sunday morning, and let's just say that performance was a short song. You know what I mean? About a minute and a half. But when it's your home church, man, everything you do, they thought I was Elvis. You know what I mean? They were like, they loved it. So, but that's how I first started writing songs. And I didn't really start until I was late in high school. I was about a senior in high school.
How many have you cataloged now, would you say?
Oh, well, I'll usually write between 60 and 80 songs a year. In the beginning, I was writing. I say now, the further you get in your career, the lower the amount of songs you write, but your batting average is higher. You know what I'm saying? So, thousands of songs probably at this point, and I've been thankful to have a lot of them get recorded either by other artists or that I've put out on my records. So, and I love it. I would say the other night I received an award from ASCAP, which is a organization that looks after the songwriters. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt like a songwriter first. You know what I mean? For all the other job titles I have, to get recognized as a songwriter, that's extra special for me.
It's a songwriter's town. That's one thing you
the
first
best
learn.
songwriters around, man.
Yeah.
I've sat in the room with them, and I'm inspired by them. They make me want to quit because they're so good, and then they make me want to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's Matthew West. and Don't Stop Praying. So how long with the songs that are on this album that come out on Friday?
Well, really about the last 9 months I've been writing songs. And to be honest with you, the inspiration for this whole album, it's called Don't Stop Praying. And every song is about the different types of prayers that we pray throughout our lives. Most of all, the reminder that we have a God who hears us when we pray, even if it's been a long time since we've let him hear the sound of our voice. And, you know, a lot of times as a professional singer, I've been challenged to think, have I gotten better at talking about Jesus than actually talking to him? And, you know, some of my most profound memories in my life have been, as a kid, I remember walking by and I'd hear my mom praying for me, you know, in her bedroom. And I'm like, man, that stuff sticks with you.
Sure does.
I want my kids to be able to say that, you know what, my dad wasn't perfect, but I know he was always praying for me. And so I hope these songs will be a call for all of us to come back to prayer, and especially for our nation and our world right now. There's a lot of people hurting. You know, these storms that we've just witnessed, we were just talking about it off the air, man. I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that God is close to the brokenhearted. He saves those who are crushed in spirit. So these songs are all really lived in, and for me, you know, it's all about the different types of prayers we pray.
You made a reference earlier. The phrase was the greatest story ever told.
Yes.
And you actually have that in book form at Christmas time this year.
Yeah,
so
I
I
put
wanted
out
to
a
mention
Christmas
that.
book. Yeah, it's called Come Home for Christmas, and I do a lot of Christmas events every year. My family calls me Mr. Christmas, so I don't know if that's an official title I can own, but
Better than the Grinch.
yeah, that's better than the Grinch. Is that what you are? But yeah, that's my latest book. It's called Come Home for Christmas. A lot of people say it's too soon to talk about Christmas, but I'm glad you brought it up. So.
Well, we brought it up with Terry Clark.
Did you?
Yeah, October the 1st, yesterday, we said, and with Terry Clark, it's Christmas. 'Cause she's playing the Opryland Hotel Christmas shows,
See?
as well as the front men of country.
And Christmas is special here at Opryland.
yeah.
Come on, my family and I, we come out, we see it every
Well,
year.
come out on the 7th. Kelly and I are going to flip the switch to light
You
the lights.
will?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds good. That sounds fun.
It's pretty magical. Yeah, it really
I can't
is.
wait.
Yeah.
I do that in Franklin, Tennessee. I host the Christmas tree lighting in Franklin every year, and it's like a Hallmark movie, man.
Growing up a kid in New England, that's what I pictured the South.
Yeah.
That square in Franklin
That's
is
it.
exactly what
That's
I pictured. And
it.
when I saw it, I'm like, I'm home now. This is it. So you mentioned these songs have all been lived with. They've all
yeah.
lived these songs. You lived one really in particular after you left us a few months ago at
Yes.
WSM
It was your last
Radio.
visit to the studio.
It
I
It
think.
was.
was,
I have
yeah.
you guys to thank. I was here talking about a song that's on the record called 18 Summers, and I performed it. And you guys are always so kind to me. And it was pouring rain. I don't know if you remember. It was bad weather that day. I was leaving my interview with you guys, and I was headed to cut vocals on the last songs on my record, directly to the studio from this studio.
And this is the record that comes out Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
And on Briley Parkway, I lost control of my vehicle and never felt this way before, but it was literally like I was on ice. There was a semi-truck to my right, very narrow shoulder, and my car began to spin out of control, smashed into the concrete median twice. And I thought for sure my car was going to flip over. And I thought I literally had this moment, if you've ever had an experience like this where you're like, this is it. And I remember this. I remember my instinct. I was screaming in my car, "Dear Jesus, help me." And
Were you by yourself?
I was by myself.
Okay.
And somehow my car didn't flip over. It came to a stop in the pouring rain. I collected my thoughts. I was still in one piece. I'm pretty sure I had a concussion, but my wife says that most days she wonders that anyway. But I'm telling you, people who looked at my car, and after it all happened, and I got the help I needed, you know, people said, there's only one way you made it out of that alive. They totaled my car, but I escaped without a scratch. And I know it was God's hand of protection on my life. And I thought I was done making my record, but a couple days after, I just couldn't shake. I was pretty shaken up by that.
Well, I can imagine.
And I couldn't shake the thought of it. And I couldn't shake the thought of what my instinct was. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm not as close to God as I want to be. But then in a moment of crisis, my instinct was to call on his name. And I remember when I was a little kid, and I was in the car with my mom in a red Ford station wagon, and we were almost in a car accident. And you know what her instinct was? She threw her arm over me in the front seat, and she said, "Dear Jesus, help us." And I thought, well, thank God the apple hasn't fallen too far from the tree.
Well, that's the original Jesus Take the Wheel.
That's it. And so I sat down and I wrote a song that reminds me about the prayers we pray for protection, and the reminder that those are prayers that God answers. And maybe somebody listening today can think of a moment where they thought, there's only one way I made it, and that's God's hand.
Always an inspiration to us here on Coffee, Country, and Cody. I know
Thank
to
you.
people listening all over the world on WSM and watching on Circle Country. Thanks for your friendship. And that moment in time, musically inspired by his last visit to WSM Radio.
Thank the
I
Lord.
hope today's better than the last
That's
time.
right, man.
Okay?
I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate your listeners, and thanks for all the support. And man, I hope everybody remembers, don't stop praying, because
Yeah.
He hears you.
It comes out on Friday, wherever you get your music. It'll be there this Friday, and he'll celebrate that on Saturday in Lamarck, Texas, the Matthew West album release event, and then he'll be at the Mississippi State Fair in Jackson on Sunday.